Hello and welcome back to playartpredict.com. Delighted to be joined by Sean again. And Sean got that message in nice and early this week as well. So you can already tell an indication of the way the game week went for both of us. You had a good week again? You pipped me anyways.
Yeah, that's the main thing, Jonathan. Once I'm beating you, I'm happy out. Yeah, I had a decent week. Unfortunately, Monaghan, which for me felt like a home banker, got caught by a very, very good Meath performance. They got a draw out of it, which I suppose I was happy for Meath in a way. It's not nice to see a team go through a whole league campaign with no points on the board at all. So I suppose the nice bit of me felt good for me in a way, but it cost me a correct prediction. And the other one, which I suppose was always a tight enough one to call, was the Mayo game. Mayo getting beat by Tyrone. I suppose we were both going off Mayo's great win over Galway and that they carried that momentum into the weekend. But and it was obviously, for me, it was the game of the weekend because there was so much riding on it in terms of relegation and so on. And as we saw, the results went against Mayo, and for the first time in 23 years, I think they're relegated to Division 2. So so Mayo let me down on that one. But other than that, I was happy enough. You had a difficult enough week, Jonathan.
Difficult would be an understatement, really. There, I think the only thing I'd give you from a Galway person's point of view, and this is the definition of pettiness and everything.
Don't go there.
Childish and all that. But wasn't it a great, nice piece of work by Pádraig Joyce in the end, just to put Mayo into a false level of perspective, really, that they might survive and delaying that resort. It's a bit of a shock. All the joking aside, I know I think everybody was messing back and forth as well, because it's an indication really of how good that Mayo performance was, and how, I suppose, not concerned, but how Mayo are at a level where everybody's talking about them, and it is such a massive thing that they've actually been relegated. Now, I didn't see it coming even with the break. I still thought that they would do enough to get by. And look, ultimately, Mayo, they've had a very good league campaign over the last couple of years in particular. So they're probably not going to be too discouraged, really, if they can get a good championship out of it. The championship is the be-all and end-all, really, for Mayo. So I don't think James Horan will be, while it is a bit of a step back and probably more of a hindrance for next year, this year it probably won't have much of a factor really at all, you'd have to say.
No, I can't see it. And he actually, James Horan, spoke in an interview before the Tyrone game saying that whether they win or lose, they move on pretty quickly. And that their focus is always on, okay, what did we learn from it? Let's move on to the next game. And that's going to be even more important now as they face Leitrim in the championship at the weekend. So, it's not like they got blown off the field against Tyrone. They were very competitive. Tyrone were excellent, and there was some. Mickey Hart will be delighted facing into their own championship game against Donegal, which we'll talk about soon. But for Mayo, really, okay, relegation isn't nice, but and I know I mentioned last week that it's very important being at the top table of league football for your development in terms of, Mayo trying to bring through a few young guys as well, which, playing against the top teams in the country is only going to improve you. But I don't know, Jonathan, maybe I think football in Ireland has improved so much that, and I was thinking about this Sunday evening when Mayo had been relegated, is there a huge difference between Division 1 and the top of Division 2? Probably not. Okay, you'd expect Mayo to come back up straight away because they'll have the quality, but the top 3 or 4 teams in Division 2 have kind of always been bouncing between 1 and 2 anyway. So, I think there isn't going to be a huge difference there. They'll still get 3, 4, 5 maybe quality games in Division 2, but you'd expect them to bounce back up again. But as you said, and as James Horan said, they moved on pretty quickly Sunday evening. They're probably back into training tonight, Tuesday night, and they'll be getting ready for their championship opener against Leitrim on at the weekend. It's Sunday, I think. Is it? It's Saturday or Sunday? And you'd expect them to win that. And after that, I think they're away to Roscommon in the semi-finals. So you'd expect Mayo to put that behind them pretty quickly and be ready to go for the weekend.
A bit of trivia for as well. I'll put you on the spot here, knowing you, how much you've read over the last couple of days. The last team to get relegated from Division 1 and contest the All-Ireland.
Oh, God. I'm going to take a stab at Tyrone. No?
Meath in 01. 01. And
really?
Do you know when that final? No, I wouldn't remember any of those. The semi-final was great that year, wasn't it? That was one of the strangest kind of, if you want to put sequence of results, really.
Crazy.
Meath, I think those blue jerseys were nearly burned at the cross there for a while, for a couple of years, and it was after that horror show in the semi-final, and then Galway doing the opposite to Meath. It was surreal that you never really see those kind of the banking scores added together in the semi-final final of the All-Ireland series.
Yeah, Kerry were, sorry now to correct you, but Kerry were actually wearing white jerseys that day against
was it white? Am I wrong?
Yeah, it was white. No. And you're right, though.
Meath were the blue. I just remember they were getting absolutely smoked out of it. It was
it was just crazy. Can you believe I was actually at I was in Slane the night before. I was at one of the U2 gigs. Remember U2 did 2 gigs in one in Slane. And I was at, I'm not sure, was it the first or the second one that was on the night before the game? And let's put it like this: I wasn't in the best form, emotionally and physically, standing up on the hill on the Sunday and watching Kerry just absolutely been blown away by a very, very good Meath team. And I mean, there was only one winner going into that All-Ireland final, but Galway and Pádraig Joyce, I believe, had other ideas. Wasn't that the Joyce final?
That was the Joyce, yeah. It's funny, it was almost a game of two halves. Like Darren Fay had done a great job against them in the first half, but then he just ran amok.
That's right.
In the second half. Right. And I remember even Joyce scoring with his right foot in the All-Ireland final as well, which there were collector's items. His left foot was so good, he didn't really have to rely on the right, but it was an indication of how the game went. But yeah, also the first year as well, where the team went through the back door. I know we have a slightly changed circumstance as well, so it's amazing how things change. And of course, it was Kerry the year before, without getting too much down the nostalgic roots even.
That's right.
Kerry were the last team to win at the old knockout. So will they be? They picked up another piece of silverware at the weekend. Will they be the team to win back in the? I suppose if you put the two knockout championships in a row, it is a 2 in a row. If you want to really clutch at straws, so. Kerry are probably the team to contend. They're definitely going to contend. What's the word down in the street down there?
Yeah, look, I suppose everybody's looking to see who's going to or trying to challenge Dublin and stop this 6 in a row that everyone's talking about. I was lucky enough to be at the game on Saturday in Tralee, Jonathan. I was fulfilling some media duties for the Kerry men, so it was great to be able to get in. First of all, I have to say, hats off to the Kerry County Board and their setup. I felt everyone felt very, very safe in there. I was in the stand. It was the media overflow section, and we all had loads of space, and everyone was wearing their masks. It was excellent, I have to say. It was very, very well done. Felt very safe there. Kerry were good. Now, first of all, you have to, I suppose, draw a line under it and say that Donegal came down the road, as we mentioned last week here, with a lot of big names left behind for obvious reasons with their championship game against Tyrone this weekend. So straight off, Kerry would have been expected to win because they were playing a Donegal. People were calling the Donegal B team. I think that might be a bit unfair, but they were certainly under strength. And look, for the first 10 or 15 minutes, it was a pretty dour affair. Both teams playing defensively. Kerry are obviously adapting this new defensive system, which again we spoke about last weekend against Monaghan, and they're trying to catch teams on the break. They're trying to use their pace and power, particularly from their half-back line, to burst up the field and get scores. And for a while, it was looking like Donegal were well in it, but once Kerry got to the first water break, I don't know what was said in it or what was in the water, but they put the game to bed in the 20 minutes after that. They rattled up 2-3, 2-4 without reply. 2 excellent goals, and the game was over as a contest at half time, and Kerry could have been given the trophy. Really, David Clifford could have lifted it at half time. It was over because they did all that playing into the breeze, so they were facing into the second half with the breeze at their back, and they put up a good tally and won by 14 points. Now the signs are good, Jonathan. We're being positive down here. Certainly it seems that they have looked at the defensive side of things and tried to tighten that up. Kerry have and will always have excellent forwards. So it's just trying to knit the two styles of play together. I think Peter Keane was asked on TV after, will we see 13 men behind the ball for the championship? And he kind of remarked, was there 13 back there that he's going to have to start counting? But, at the end of the day, we can talk all we want about defensive systems, but Kerry still rattled up to 16, was it? To 18.
So, yeah.
And I would say the majority of that was from play. So that is your scenario. If you can choke a team out of space when they're attacking you and exploit the gaps they've left behind when you turn the ball over and rattle up to 18 by playing a defensive system, then that's the best of both worlds. Now, that's not going to work every day, and I'm sure Ronan McCarthy and his Cork management team will look at that and see the Kerry blueprint and be ready for them in 2 weeks' time on the 8th of November for the Munster Championship game. But what I will say is that if Kerry can even tighten that system up over the next 2 weeks, whether that's another challenge game or in-house training or whatever they're going to do, if they play it right, they'll be hard beaten. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win the All-Ireland, but I think Cork will be the one. If they can get over Cork on the 8th of November, it's falling nicely for them. They'd have 2 weeks break between every game. They have a great chance. But I would put them in the same bracket as, I'm still not ruling out Mayo, even though they'll be disappointed with the relegation. They're still in the hat. Tyrone have impressed me. Dublin are obviously. Galway, even though they, have injuries and, will be disappointed with the way things worked out in the league and a disappointing performance against Mayo, I still have them in the mix as well. So, look, it's going to be a weird championship, Jonathan. To be honest with you, I think any one of those teams could come out as champions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And there's, I think, in a weird way, it's kind of nice and refreshing that it is going back to the old school championship, because I think it just adds a bit of energy from the start of the competition straight away that probably we needed straight away. It needed that shot of insulin or whatever you want to call it, just to give it that boost straight away, just to try and grab our attention. Let's have a quick look back then and see how badly I did at the weekend. So we've touched on Kerry there as well. I think that was one that we both got right. There's not much point really in going to the ones that I got right then as well, because I was a miserable 3 out of 8. So let's run through them then, and we can compare and contrast. How many did you end up right in the end?
I think was there 8 games?
There was 8 games, yeah.
Yeah, so I got 6 right. Yeah,
very good. So that's almost your A-star student.
Close enough.
Yeah. So just to quickly run through them, that was a good win for Kildare against Westmeath. Another one I got wrong. Armagh as well. That's another one that there was a good 5-point win for them over Clare. I thought Clare might have just about nicked it with home advantage, but no, that's another one that you got correct.
Yeah, and I saw the reason why I went for them was because I'd seen Armagh play Roscommon the weekend before last, and I just felt they were, they were a really, really solid outfit. And McGeeney obviously is, I suppose he's pushing his personality onto that team, and they ended up getting promoted, didn't they, along with Roscommon? So they were back up to Division 1. So that's a huge bonus for them. But again, look, as much as that'll please them, they'll be looking at, like every other team, Jonathan, they'll be looking at the championship as well and chomping at the bit for their opening game. So, but yeah, I liked the look of Armagh, and I think they could be a dark horse in the Ulster Championship this year again with that knockout system,
Absolutely. So then we went down the way again then as well. And speaking of, you talked about Armagh versus Roscommon there. I had thought that Roscommon were just going to be a little bit hindered by the, not chaos, but a sign of the times, restrictions or difficulties in the squad. But they did have a good victory, 112 to 13 points in there in the end. That was a great win for Roscommon, you'd have to say. Did you change your mind? I know you were, because of course you do have up to 5 minutes. I got clarification on this. You do have up to 5 minutes before throw-in to change your mind if you are playing along at playerpredict.com. So you were debating, I think, when we last spoke, that you might have changed this. When did you go with your gut in the end?
Yeah, I did. I stuck with Roscommon. Yeah, that was over Cavan, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
Yeah, no, I stuck with Roscommon. Again, I'd seen them play against Armagh. They beat Armagh. They got goals, and obviously the goal was the decisive score in that game to get them the victory. So, yeah, I took your point there when we spoke last week that obviously Roscommon have their difficulties with the COVID, but I just felt they'd still probably have enough for Cavan. Cavan aren't going great, and they face Monaghan this weekend in the championship, and I don't know. I'm not getting a great vibe out of the Cavan camp, and I just felt that Roscommon would have the momentum after beating Armagh, particularly away. They beat Armagh up there, so that really boosted them going to play Cavan, and they got the win. So I stuck with Roscommon on that one. Yeah.
And then a rarity, one that I got right, Laois beating Fermanagh. I know we spoke about Roscommon having difficult times. It's even more difficult, it seems, at Fermanagh as well. That was a good victory. You'd have to say decent scoreline as well for Laois, 3-12 to 1-11. Well, there's still a decent scoring as well from Fermanagh given the circumstances as well, you'd have to say.
Yeah, but that one was actually going against Laois because I was keeping a track of the scores. Laois left it very late. Mike Quirk will be delighted, my old Kerry teammate. But they left it very, very late. I think they got 3 goals very late on, actually, to rescue that. So I'm sure Mike was biting the fingernails down the stretch of that one. But they came good in the end. Yeah, so a big win for them. Yeah, and they retained their status in Division 2, as far as I know.
So it was a big result.
Huge win.
For them.
Big one.
We spoke about a little bit in depth already about Mayo, as we tend to do in every show, because they are such an important team, and they're going to be every football conversation you would have to imagine between now and the end of the competition. I had banked them to continue that good form. As you said, got pipped. Probably scoreline maybe flattered them as well. Some of the goals I know they don't get me wrong, some glorious football played by Tyrone, and some of the goals were an absolutely joy to watch. Particularly some of the long range foot passing as well. I think it was the second goal was the beautiful pass there from outside of the right there as well. Just a joy to watch. But Tyrone just did enough. And again, that's another one that I got wrong. Although I don't feel it's disgrace getting that one wrong, because I think you went for a similar scenario there.
I went for Mayo there as well. Yeah, again, hoping that they'd carry the momentum from the Galway result. But Tyrone were excellent, I have to say, Jonathan. And look, the big standout performer for me and the big addition for Tyrone is Conor McKenna. I mean, he's come back from Essendon, and he has, I played with Ty Kennelly when he came back from Sydney, and it took him a while to settle, even training and so on, and he'd admit that himself. It took him a while, and he eventually came good and won his All-Ireland and was one of our best players that season. But I mean, McKenna has just come back into the Tyrone team, and he looked like he's never been away. Now, I know, rightly or wrongly, he might have been playing a bit when he'd come home anyway in the break from the AFL. But obviously, that was between himself and his club. But my God, he was he was good. He was good the first day out against Donegal. He was even better the last day. And you spoke about that pass for the goal. That was McKenna, the outside of the right, into young Canavan, Peter's son, I believe. And he finished it brilliantly. But I mean, he didn't have to budge. It was on a postage stamp from
just
from
the
McKenna.
outside of the right, like behind two players as well.
Yeah.
Like he was being screened and just curled in perfectly. It was like
Beautiful.
watching an NFL quarterback just pocket it into someone. It's just you're right. That is a good point. He's come back and he's just looked like he's never been away from football. We've seen it's been a good few examples where players will come back from down under. Yes, they'll be physically fit and strong, but it has taken even some of the more skillful players. It has taken them a while to come back and adapt. But he's just like a duck to water straight away there.
He has, and that Tyrone forward line is exciting. It's really taking shape. Obviously they're without McShane for the rest of the year. But McKenna has come in and really, stepped up and is looking like, the go-to guy now on their side. But they'll definitely be one to watch. Obviously they're in action this weekend against Donegal, which will be a tough one, which we'll talk about. But he's really impressed me, McKenna. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then quickly, just to run through the last two then in the game week we had here on playerpredict.com last week. So again, another one that I got wrong. I fancied Monaghan against Meath, but Meath dug out the one last victory in the Division 1 status. That was a good victory for them, really, and probably the victory that they needed just to kind of get that level of positivity coming into the championship now.
Yeah, did they end up? Was it a draw in the end, Jonathan? Sorry, I thought I could be wrong.
Maybe it could be wrong. I've got the prediction. I've got the prediction wrong. I know. So
so did I, because I went for Monaghan to win, but I think Meath just did enough to get a draw in the end. Did they end up with a draw? Or was it maybe they got the win?
You are indeed correct. Yeah, 214 to 117.
Yeah,
it's just actually come up in the system here as an incorrect. So, but a good result going into the championship for them.
Massive, because as we said there at the start, if they had gone through the whole Division 1 campaign with 8 defeats, or was it 9 games that teams ended up playing, 8 or 9, it would have been tough to take. It would have been tough to take, even though they had some decent performances. So to finish on a positive and to get a point, and to show character and to get themselves back into the game, was brilliant. So you look, they'll be happy. Again, they have their Leinster Championship coming up. But yeah, that was one I went for Monaghan, because I had seen enough of Monaghan against Kerry that they'd have enough to beat Meath. But, Meath had other plans, and in fairness to them, they showed a lot of character, as I said, to at least get a draw out of it,
Perfect. It's actually seven games that everybody played in.
7, was it?
In Division 1. And then quickly, we've talked...
Sorry, Jonathan.
No wonder you're doing so good. No wonder you're doing so good. You have helpers and everything there, which
yeah.
I think there's people fighting for the TV. Is it? We'll quickly run through.
I think so. Yeah.
The last one we touched on there was we've touched on it already, as well as Galway and Dublin. A little bit of kind of it wasn't the result that Galway wanted, but probably got a few little things back on track again. I know you made a good few changes as well, Joyce, as well. So hopefully that there's enough sown there in the future to kind of look into what is a very important game against Sligo coming up as well. So Conway was excellent as well. Dublin were there. I generally call them, this isn't being disrespectful, this is Dublin being Dublin, just doing enough really to get over the line as that absolutely machine that they are.
Yeah, I watched this. I thought it was a decent game considering the conditions. There was that really strong breeze, that as there nearly always is in Salt Hill. But I have to say that we spoke last week about this game, and that Joyce would have been looking for a reaction from his players, and I mean, he got it in abundance. They really, didn't want a repeat of what happened the weekend before against Mayo, and they were hurt from that. So you could see that they were really dogged. They worked very hard. Look, Dublin just had that bit of class in the end. I thought Bugler was excellent for Dublin, really, really good. He really came to the fore in the second half, got a cracking goal and tipped over some great scores. And look, Dublin are still the team to beat, but from a Galway perspective, they can take a lot now from that. They can nearly, push the Mayo performance to one side and focus on what they did well against Dublin and take that into the Sligo game then. Yeah,
and just on the injury front then as well, we did see the return of Shane Walsh as well, which obviously is absolutely huge player. Small bit of disappointment as well. Ian Burke, it looks like he could be out for majority of the championship as well with that ankle injury. I know Pádraig Joyce was quite irate afterwards. I probably didn't feel it was, there was malice in it. I thought it was kind of one of those where you do it yourself. Sometimes you kind of misplace the ball and you fly in and you shouldn't, but it's hard to, when you're in the heat of the moment and the ball is breaking in front of you, it's hard not dive into it. Now, don't get me wrong, it looked horrible, and it's a nasty one for Burke as well. So obviously we wish him well, tough. But it is a tough one, isn't it?
It's tough, and I suppose, look, Pádraig Joyce would have been disappointed because they've got the news now that Damien Comer's probably going to miss definitely the Connacht Championship, whatever about the All-Ireland series if they get into the quarterfinals, but the semi-finals, excuse me. But it's probably the last thing he needed. Shane Walsh is back. He looked like he was moving well actually when he came in, kicked a beautiful score against the Breeze, more or less with his first touch. But obviously the news that Comer's gone and now Burke could be in trouble. Not what he needed, going into the Sligo game. But unfortunately, injuries happen, and that's where you've got to call on the rest of your panel to step up.
I know that was an impact injury or whatnot, but we are going to see it as an overall overview before we look into the next week's championship, the opening of the championship. But you are going to see a lot more, whether it's going to be COVID or if it's going to be muscle injuries from just the load capacities, and then you've multiple factors as well. The break, heavy ground, it's just a hectic schedule as well. A lot of players are coming back battered and bruised after hectic club calendars as well. So squads are going to be tested to the utmost, really, I think, in the coming weeks.
Absolutely, and I mean your bench is always important, but in this particular year with everything going on, and it's going to be such a hectic schedule, as you said, your subs are going to play a massive part now, and it's so important that you keep your squad as fit and as healthy as possible, and that's why depending on each province and so on with the run of games, you're probably not you're not going to have that much recovery time.
No.
So physio teams, doctors, strength and conditioning coaches are all going to have to be really at the top of their game to make sure that the minute fellas are finished and they win on a Sunday and they might be out again the following weekend, that they're just doing everything right, recovering, so on. And the thing about it is, Jonathan, that was fine in normal circumstances where you could probably go and do a pool session on a Monday or something like that, but that's all out the window now. So they're going to have to just work with the resources they have and try and get players ready again in the short turnaround time. But that's their profession. That's what they're skilled to do. And but they're really going to be tested. The players and the backroom teams are going to be tested in this strange year that we have coming ahead.
Absolutely. Well, let's look ahead into the championship coming up. As we said, it opens up, and we did see a return of the hurling championship last weekend, and Limerick looking just like the Dublin really of football, I think, is the best way you can describe them. But let's look ahead. I'll try and actually share my screen here as well now, so we can do it live on there. I completely got put on the hop last week, as you can probably tell by my absolutely pitiful attempt, really. But let's go through and look at that, and you should be able to see that there. Okay, I hope. Monaghan versus Cavan is the first one out there on Saturday. Let's go every second one then, so we can at least put in. I'll lock my fixtures in as well, so it'll give you an indication as well, really, if people want to join along and have a bit of fun with us and join our league. If you just go to playoutpredicts.com, and then you can select up here. We've selected the football championship, and then it gives you the list of fixtures for next week's round of games. There is, of course, if we just for the people that might be coming for the first time, the leagues are over now as well, but we do have the hurling championship and, of course, the Premier League game, which is probably most popular at the moment. But today we're focused fully on the big ball, as they would say, and this is an Ulster championship game with a bit of meat to it. I'm probably going to keep this nice and brief and short. I'm just going to lock in Monaghan straight away for me. Your thoughts on that one, Sean?
Yeah, I would have been going the same, Jonathan, with Monaghan. As I said, I just don't. I think Cavan have been struggling for a bit of form. Now, look, everything changes when it switches to championship, and I'm sure you'll see a better performance from Cavan. But I just feel that Monaghan, they were decent against Kerry. Okay, they let a lead slip and got pegged back against Meath, but I just think they probably have more to them about Cavan at the moment. Look, in Conor McManus, they have a game winner on any day of the week, really, in any game. So I think, I would be locking in there with Monaghan. I think they'll have enough to beat Cavan on the day. And as far as I know, they're at home. Are they down as the home team? And I think so. That'll probably be Clonus.
I'll pull up the fixtures here. There, while you.
You
can talk about just how good Conor McManus is really, and the difference that he's going to make this time of year. It's so important. Like we saw in the introduction, even in the Kerry game, the difference that he made just from half time alone, really. He's such a probably one of the marquee forwards still in the game.
Without a doubt, he's up there in the top 5 forwards that I've ever seen play the game. To be honest, Jonathan, he'd be up there for me. He just has everything. He has everything, and I'm not sure why he didn't start the Kerry game. Actually, I was quite surprised. Look, he might have been carrying something from, obviously, maybe he picked something up in the Monaghan Championship, or maybe something in the early few sessions after lockdown with the county, but he didn't look it when he came on. He caused the Kerry defence a lot of problems. He'll actually be a very, very good man to take advantage of the advanced mark, because he's got a great lead over he can lead very well over the first couple of yards, and obviously if he can get a mark anywhere inside the 45-metre line, then more than likely he's going to pop that over the bar. So I just think Monaghan for me on that one, definitely.
Yeah, and just to confirm as well, I've just pulled the fixtures up alongside me as well. I was pretty sure it was in Clonus. It is indeed on Clonus, and it's a game actually is available to watch on Sky, and they will have their augmented sound option as well there, which should be interesting to say the least as well. I wonder, will they have let it into option? Will that be available? And we had kind of a good bit of laugh back and forth with those games. So the next one, then we're heading down towards the Munster Championship as well, and probably a difficult enough game to predict, really. Waterford and Limerick. Of course, we should say as well that these games are winner on the day as well. So we probably will see teams in the strange circumstances of practicing penalties in this week as well, which usually was the thing that you did before a train or something like that, and then your manager come out and absolutely killed you for it. Now you have a valid reason and an excuse. I wonder, perhaps we'll see some this weekend. We don't know, but it would be mad if a championship game, inter-county championship game, because of course we have seen some dramatic shootouts in the club. Particularly, there was some crazy ones up in Tyrone there over the course of their championship as well. Would you be confident taking a penalty yourself, Sean?
I'm not the best penalty taker in the world, Jonathan. No, I'd say, in my whole career, I never took one with the county, but certainly with the club, I would probably have a 50% conversion rate. I would say I was taken off them the last couple of years, so I didn't mind handing over that responsibility. But yeah, look, obviously we could end up in penalties shootout situations. You wouldn't like to see a team go out to the championship on a penalty shootout, but look, with the way the year is going, it's the only option available because they just can't have the backlog of fixtures, so it has to be done. Waterford and Limerick,
who do you fancy here?
I think I'm going to go Limerick on that one, Jonathan. I think they've probably the better forwards. I know Waterford travelled a long distance last weekend to play Antrim and put up a good show up there after all the toing and froing about whether they were going to go up there or not, and they played into Dundalk in the end, I think. But yeah, no, I wouldn't know a whole pile about both teams, but from what I see in the league, I think Limerick probably have a better scoring return and to get them through.
Yeah, I'd probably have to just edge. I know Waterford are at home, and it is, of course, just to give the coverage as well, because obviously no crowds. It's a game that's available on GAA Go. Throw-in is at 7:00. I'm probably going to have to edge towards Limerick slightly as well, but one of those ones where I wouldn't be surprised if I got it wrong, put it that sort of way. But for now, I'm gonna lock in Limerick. The next one is probably a game that you probably, if they were playing together in hurling, it'd be an absolute humdinger. The way things are going at the moment as well, it is for Tipperary and Clare. Yeah, I'd probably have to lean towards Tipperary in this one now, I have to say as well. I'm going to lock that one in there for myself as well. Do you want to give your thoughts who you're going for in this one, or you think the same?
Yeah, I think this one could be really tight. I would historically, and if it was probably any other year, I'd probably plump for Tipperary like yourself. Clare are just, it's hard to know, the Collins, the manager, Colin Collins, isn't it? He's done a huge amount of work with Clare, and they've been improving steadily every year. I think Tipperary have lost a few guys as well, from what I gather. Now they probably will still have enough, and I'm going to go with Tip. But if there was any game this weekend where I feel there could be an upset, I think it's that one. I think I wouldn't be, as you said in the previous game, I wouldn't be shocked if Clare really put it up to Tip and nearly even pip them. But I again, probably Tip just probably have that little bit more experience and that little bit more quality. So I'm going to go a reserved yes for Tip on that one, but I wouldn't be surprised if that goes all the way to, is it extra time and then penalties?
It's extra time if necessary, and then penalties as well.
Yeah,
so.
I wouldn't be surprised if that one needed extra time at least to sort it out. I just have a feeling that Clare could really put it up to Tip in that one, but I'm going to lock Tip in with that one. Yeah, you're
going to go to home win there, of course, at Thurles, and again, throw-in is at 1:00 there on Sunday, and it's another game available on GAA Go. So loads of football to be able to be available for view, and so while we can't get in there, at least we do have TV and streaming options, which is small bonus in the light of things. Back over to Connacht then as well, and a team that discussed about a lot. And as I think I touched earlier in the show, I think to repeat the phrase that I said, we're going to talk about them a lot more. But this is going to be, with the greatest respect to Leitrim, this is going to be a Mayo win. Probably a short and sweet summary from you as well in this one, Sean, I'd imagine.
Yeah, same as that, Jonathan. Can't see any other result in that one. Mayo are just, head and shoulders ahead of Leitrim. And the thing about it is, what James Horan will be looking for is, we all know Mayo are a better footballing team than Leitrim. Let's not make any bones about that. But in these games where you are the better footballing team, you just have to make sure that you go out and match and better the opposition for their work rate, because Leitrim know that even though they mightn't have the footballers that Mayo have, they'll at least come and work hard, and they'll make it hard for Mayo and try and make it as hard as possible, and they'll try and physically match them. But if Mayo can match all those things on paper, then they just have the quality all over the field, and they should win comfortably, really.
Yeah, I think we both lock in a Mayo win, and that is, of course, that is a home game for Leitrim's in Sean McDermott at the Park, and it's available on RT Now, which I think is the news channel, if I'm correct.
That's right.
So it will be available on good old school TV. You should have that flick down the channels, and you should be able to find that one. That's 1:15 on Sunday. The next one, going over to Leinster then as well. I have to say, this is another one that I looked at earlier on, and I'm like, I changed my mind a few times on Carlow and Offaly. It's another tough one to call, isn't it, Sean?
It is, yeah. It is two teams who, again, are low down the divisions, but yeah, I think I'm gonna plump for Offaly. John Maughan is in charge there, isn't he?
He is, yeah.
He's obviously, John has a good track record of having teams very fit and ready for the battle. So there won't be much between them either. Carlow had a change of management. Turlock O'Brien stepped down during the lockdown, so he was a big loss to Carlow football. And had done a lot of work there, which obviously would have Carlow in good stead. They've had some good performances in the last couple of years. I just think Maughan, he'll have Offaly ready to go. So I'm going to go for Offaly on that one. I'm not sure about you, but I'm going to go with Offaly.
The way I kind of came back to it was with just Offaly being at home as well. I just kind of edged slightly towards Offaly, but it's another one that I wouldn't be banking on. It's another one that we probably could potentially be discussing next week, and wondering, was it one of those that got away? I'm sure that everybody saw the Connor sketches skating as well. Poor John Maughan got an awful doing. I'm just wondering, will he wear the shorts at Sunday now in O'Moore Park, O'Connor Park even. It's another game just in terms of viewing. It's available on the GAA Go package, so there is a good few games actually available on that package. But I'm locking in enough. Going to copycat you there as well, and I'm locking in an Offaly win. Another team then that, of course, I suppose Signing the Times really had a change of manager kind of during the middle of the lockdown, or whatever way you want to look at it. Paul Galvin, for various reasons, stepped aside, so there's a new man at the helm there for Wexford as well. But you'd probably say a difficult game against Wicklow as well on Sunday. I'm probably just edging towards Wicklow. Another very, very tough one, you'd have to say, to call. But I'm probably, I think it's my turn to go first, but I'm edging towards a Wicklow win here, I have to say. I'm not sure what your thoughts are, but that's where my mind is kind of heading at the moment.
I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go Wexford to beat Wicklow, purely from the point of view that, look, I wouldn't talk to Paul that regularly, but I know from listening to him that he was really happy with the way things were progressing in Wexford, and he had unearthed a few new players, and things were going pretty well. I think the whole reason he had to step away was due to logistics, in terms of, I think he moved away, and it was difficult for him going to be travelling. I think he moved to Mayo, and it was going to be difficult for him to commute from Mayo to Wexford. So that was disappointing for him. But I think he laid a lot of foundations there, and talking to a few people I know in Wexford, they were quite happy. Disappointing to lose him, but he had a lot of work done. And I just think that, with that behind them, they'll be wanting to put up a good show at the weekend. And I think they'll have too much for Wicklow on the day. I'm going to go for Wexford on that one, Jonathan.
Well, I'll listen to your good advice and ignore you. So that's probably one where you're going to catch me out next week. 1:30 throw in on Sunday for that one, and another game available on the GAA Go package. So there's quite a lot of games being streamed there, which is it just helps a little bit in the given times. Now we get to the business end with the greatest respect to the other teams involved. This for me is tie of the weekend. And I said I kind of went back and forth on a couple of other games in my head on my terms of my prediction. I'm still not fully sure. I think this one might be one up to 5 minutes before the throw-in, which is the allocated time, that I might be changing my mind again on this one. Firstly, you'd have to say this, of course, is Donegal and Tyrone. They played each other in a shadow game a couple of weeks ago, but this is the big one. The fact that it's knockout and competitive as well. To me, straight away, I think it's going to be very, very even. I don't be surprised if this goes all the way. I was going to say to the dreaded penalty shootout, it'd be great for the neutral. I don't think it would be great for either team involved if they had to decide the game on penalty shootout. But I feel like it's one of those that could go all the way.
It's an incredibly difficult one to call, and I just think it's going to be a humdinger of a game, Jonathan, because obviously with the new knockout situation, both teams know that they're going to have to go for it. Like, there's no second chance. They played in the league the first game back after lockdown, and Donegal won it. It was a decent game, but obviously they both teams knew they would have been reacquainting, or they would have been what's the phrase? Reigniting acquaintances in the championship, which is a different kettle of fish altogether. I've seen both teams now a couple of times. Obviously, I saw Donegal up close at the weekend, albeit they were without Michael Murphy, Ryan McHugh, Neil McGee, many more. And Tyrone, I suppose, have been impressive. They put it up to Donegal in that league game, and obviously they beat Mayo at the weekend. It's so difficult to call, and even though I have been impressed by Tyrone, I'm going to go for Donegal. I just think where's it on, Jonathan?
It's in Ballyballfrey, so Ballyballfrey,
right,
so
okay.
it's the home
game.
It's
a home game for Donegal. That will help, even though there's obviously no crowds there, but it will help Donegal. I just think Donegal will have I just feel Michael Murphy is such a huge influence on that team, and he's just a magnificent player and a magnificent leader. Throw into the mix that Paddy McBrearty might be back as well. He's been carrying an injury now. Will they throw him in straight away into a championship game? Probably not. But even if he's sprung off the bench, he's a huge asset. And even though Tyrone have an excellent forward line, obviously now McKenna back in and playing well, I just feel Donegal will have that little bit more know-how to get the result in Ballybofey. So I think by the skin of their teeth, I'm going to go for a Donegal win in that one. And I mean, imagine Sunday evening in the championship, you could be down Tyrone or Donegal. You know what I mean?
Incredible.
Already, So, but I'm just going to go for Donegal on that one. Only just, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm probably.
What about you?
I have changed my mind a lot, even in the last hour or so when I've been thinking again this evening here. But I'm just probably, maybe not even a percent, maybe even a 0.25%. I'm just edging towards just Donegal. I think they might be a little further down the line, and I think home advantage as well. Although, as you said, not crowd. I think it's just maybe the small margin that it might be. But I think this really could be one that could go at least to extra time as well. But in terms of wrapping up the game, because I know we're pushing on a bit here, I'm just going to carefully click on Donegal. I might be pressing that undo button over here and coming back and to something else later on. But for now, I'm locking in Donegal. But that game could go either way.
Oh, it's a toss of a coin. It really is a toss of a coin. But I just think if Donegal's big players, I mean, like the likes of Murphy and McHugh, particularly if they bring the form they showed against Tyrone in the league game and what we know they're capable of, I think they might just lead their team to victory. But in saying that, Conor McKenna could have a blinder.
Absolutely.
Matty Donnelly, Tyrone have leaders themselves. So it's a toss of a coin, but just something is leaning me towards Donegal for some reason. And I'm not even sure why, to be honest.
Yeah, well, we lock it in. That game is throw-in is at 1:30 on Sunday, and it's one that's available on RTE as well. So we will be glued to that, no doubt. We've actually talked about a good while. It just goes to show once championship comes back, conversations get a lot longer. So we're blessed to have those. And I repeat as well, if you want to join the conversation, really get involved with us, just visit playerpredict.com. Come down here to press as you predict, because there's other, you'll see your leagues that you're involved in as well, and the results are available there. The stream is the videos that we've done here are available, and there's some other interviews with other people, both in terms of GAA and non-GAA as well. There's some interesting interviews there as well. But if you go into the predict, come down up on top, and we are playing the football championship game at the moment, and it's very straightforward. You just click your choices there. You have up until 5 minutes before throw-in to change your mind, and then you have hours of abuse and WhatsApp messages and everything else that comes in. That I got more than you. Last two, the remaining then as well. We've a visit to Leinster, Louth versus Longford. I seem to say this a lot. I think it's a difficult one to call. I'm probably leaning towards Longford in this one, I have to say. Another one that I've been thinking about a good bit. It's probably one that can go either way, but I'm edging towards Longford. Can I explain that? Why? Probably not. It's just something in the back of my head that is just leaning towards Longford for now. So I'm going to bite the bullet first and put my lock that one in there for Longford. Your thoughts on that one, Sean? Do you think it's something similar, or are you on the fence with this one as well?
On the fence as well, yeah. I'm again, two teams who are obviously plying their trade. You know, Louth in Division 3 shifted a heavy defeat to Cork in their last game, or their game last weekend. But in saying that, I think they might bounce back. It's interesting that the draw has thrown up so many, even matchups. Really, it's been an excellent draw in terms of you've got a lot of teams who, will fancy their chances of winning and getting through to the next round, particularly in the Leinster Championship. I'm going to go for Louth in that one. I know that they obviously, took a right beating against Cork, but I mean, Cork were probably beaten everyone very well in Division 3 this year. So I wouldn't read too much into that. I'm going to go for Louth in that one, Jonathan.
Okay, so you fancy the away win there. That game throws in at 1:30 on Sunday in Cusack Park in Mullingar, and it is another game available on GAA Go. So there's a number of games on at 1:30 there. We can be flicking between a good few different games. 1:30 seems to be a popular throw-in time. The last one of our game week then as well is probably another difficult one enough to predict. It's back up to Ulster, while Donegal. Tyrone is probably the tie of the round that gathers a lot of attention. I think this is going to be another absolute battle here between Derry and Armagh. I'm probably going to jump on the Armagh bandwagon. I went against them the last time I got caught wrong, so I'm going to flip back and guiltily jump back on the Armagh bandwagon. But again, it's another. They say Ulster football is competitive. I think it's even more competitive with the new structure and the time of year, especially as well, and the current sporting calendar. So it's a big quarterfinal, you'd have to say, in Ulster, but I am edging towards Armagh in this one myself, and I will lock in Armagh, and that's me done. Your thoughts?
Yeah, same here, Jonathan. I'm going to stick with Armagh in that one as well. Purely, look, I haven't seen a lot of Derry because obviously unless you're within that Derry camp, probably nobody has seen a lot of Derry. Armagh were on TV against Roscommon in that game I keep referring to, and I was impressed with them, even though they lost and they coughed up 2 penalties. I felt they played some very, very good stuff that night, and obviously they backed it up with the win at the weekend over Clare. So, and look, you've the McGeaney factor. He'll be wanting to lay down a marker in Ulster. I think they're a dark horse in Ulster this year. So for me, I'm going to go, even though it's a tough one, and Ulster can be so precarious to call because they're just, they're so competitive up there. It's the most competitive province without a doubt in terms of trying to get out of it. But I think Armagh might just have too much for Derry at the weekend. So I'll when I get a chance, I'm going to lock Armagh in there as well.
And there we go. That's going to me. I'm going to go down to the bottom then of the page. And of course, folks, you can play along on your phone or tablet or PC or whatever. I'm on the PC at the moment, but it is available across the platforms there as well. Playerpredicted.com. Go down to your predictions. very, very straightforward. Up in the top, click the competition that you won. We are, as we talked about now for the last 3/4 of an hour or so, we're in the football championship here. We've picked our options. I've probably picked the wrong ones through, but I'm going to go down to the bottom and save predictions, and they are locked in. I still have, your predictions have been saved. Thank you very much. You still, of course, stop sharing my screen now at the moment. But you do have up until 5 minutes before throwing, as I said, because I got that wrong last week. I wasn't sure. So they have been, I don't know if it's a good or bad thing, it's given us more time to stew over than it was. And there is a couple of there on the fence that I might be changing them. Just before we wrap up as well and we go into the final outdoor conversation, that Derry Armagh game is a 4 o'clock throw in at Celtic Park. And there's coverage of that on BBC. So that's it. That's all your sporting fix got in terms of...
We'll be blind from watching sport from watching championship games at the weekend, Jonathan.
We do have an abundance of them available as well, and
yeah,
I know
great. It's great.
It is, and so much talking points. You're probably, what are you most looking forward to the weekend? Obviously, I know we're all very glad to have the championship back, and it's been talked to death, and we're not going to go in it again, because even last week we said off air we weren't going to talk about COVID and whatnot. We, spending 10-15 minutes. I thought was an interesting enough conversation, but we still got sucked into it. We're going to avoid it this week. The championship is here. For better or for worse, it's here. We're going to focus on the great football that is available over the course of the weekend. What are you most looking forward to?
2 games for me that I'll be definitely tuning into, and obviously, look, I'd love to tune into all of them, but it's kind of difficult to get them all in. But the ones for me definitely will be Donegal and Tyrone. That's a definite. I'll be tuning into that one. And the other one I think will be Monaghan and Cavan, even though I feel that Monaghan will probably come out of that one on top. Still be interesting to see it. So for me, the 2 games that stand out will certainly be Donegal and Tyrone. I think that's the tie of the round, really. And Monaghan and Cavan after that. But you'll be trying to keep an eye on all of them, really, Jonathan, because look, it's just great to have the championship back. And as you said, with them available now to everybody, whether it be on the mainstream channels or on your streams, it's there for you. And unfortunately, you can't probably watch them all together at the same time, but you'll have an abundance of action over the weekend, and you'll definitely get whatever game you want to see. It's available to watch it. So happy viewing to everybody out there, and if you're doing your predictions, the best of luck. Just hopefully you don't beat me.
Well, nobody's going to beat you, and not me anyways. It is, of course, there is the hurling championship as well. We might have another little chat later in the week, but the hurling championship is available as well. There's no point asking a Kerry man about hurling much, not from your neck of the woods, anyways, I think.
No, but
you had a good win yourselves.
We did. We're in the Joe McDonagh Cup. Yeah, we had a good win at the weekend. So we're keep an eye out on us for that. We're not too bad at the hurling down here either, Jonathan.
So is there anything you can't do down there? Except find
fungi.
Find fungi, yeah. So that's the question, which is going to come back first. Is Sam Maguire or fungi? Of course, that is very, very bad taste on my behalf. We have to say there's been a lot of memes there, very distasteful during the rounds. But no, of course, we wish fungi well, and we wish everybody well as well. To repeat as well. Just in case you are joining late, it is available on playerpredict.com. The competitions are there. It's very simple, very straightforward, as we went through there as well. And let's hope your game weeks go right. Get them locked in, and there's plenty of sports back. And sure, look, Sean, I've taken enough of your time. No doubt you'll remind me how you get on out of us when you finish.
I will.
You're good like that.
I'll be sending you a WhatsApp Sunday evening, Jonathan, to remind you.
Very good.
Thanks for having me.
No, a pleasure as always, Sean. And I won't wish you well with your predictions. You don't need them. You've got enough expertise there already. But stay safe, folks. Join along on playerpredict.com, and we'll talk to you all soon. Slán.